price mechanism, which is part of Unit 2.3 on competitive market equilibriums. We're at the point now where we're putting our supply and demand curves together to get some understanding of the way that resources are allocated in a competitive free market economy, going back to sort of Adam Smith's idea of competition and very little government intervention. Those economic problems of scarcity and what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce are all answered through this price mechanism. So essentially the price mechanism, the model of the price mechanism has got two main functions. One is to allocate scarce resources, and they do this through signalling. The price is the signal to consumers and producers to change their behavior being either to buy more or buy less, or produce more and produce less. And price also acts as this incentive because consumers and producers will respond to price changes from the consumer's perspective to ensure that they maximize utility. So they'll reorganize the combination of goods and services that they buy according to what that price is and how much satisfaction or utility they're getting. And similarly with producers, they're looking at price in terms of their profit, and they'll respond to price in their desire to maximize their profits and achieve as much money as possible. So that's the main function. The second function is to act as a rationing mechanism. So if we have got a shortage or a surplus, price adjusts to ensure that we ration out the available supply. It's shared out. And whether you can argue that it's shared out fairly is a sort of normative idea, but essentially money gives you votes in the price mechanism as a consumer. The more money you've got, the more votes you have, the more access you've got to goods and services, the more that you can buy. And that access then is all managed through the price mechanism. So to see how it works, let's start with our ordinary price mechanism diagram as we've got here. We're in equilibrium. Essentially, equilibrium in economics means that there's no pressure for change. We will stay at this point, P and Q, unless something happens to the model. Well, let's have something happening, an increase in demand. One of the non-price determinants of demand has shifted, an increased demand from D to D1. Okay. Now, following this through carefully as to what now happens is quite important. You don't jump in and just say producers start to charge a higher price. All right? That's not what happens. Adam Smith talked about the invisible hand, this mechanism within the market that happens automatically. It's not down to one producer or a group of producers or consumers. It's down to this thing, more nebulous, spiritual sort of idea of the invisible hand. So currently with this increased demand to D1, we have excess demand at the current previous market price of P. Now the demand is out here at Q1 and the supply is only here at Q. Right? So there's an imbalance that's been created, or a disequilibrium. This will start to push the price up. Now the price is being pushed up by the invisible hand. Right? So there it is, starts to push the price up, and the change in price now starts to send signals to producers and consumers to change their behavior. So what do? Well, we know a change in price just moves us along supply and demand curves. And so this increase in price sends a signal to producers to supply more. That's this direction here. And it sends signals to consumers to contract their demand here. Right? So this movement is now taking place. When does it finish? Well, it finishes once supply and demand are both equal again. Equilibrium is restored at P, E, and QE. Resources have been reallocated. We were producing here at Q, and therefore allocating sufficient number of resources, scarce resources, to produce Q. Now this product is in higher demand. We've moved resources away from something else, but into the production of this item, and we're now producing QE. So one assumes using more resources to produce QE. And we move to that new equilibrium point there. Okay. You can also show this reallocation on a production possibility frontier. So we're moving, if it's bicycles and cars, what we're seeing is a shift away of resources, more demand for cars. So we start to move away from bicycle production. We have to move the resources from somewhere, but Cars are more in demand than bicycles now, so we've moved our resources to here, producing less bicycles as a result. Various other scenarios could happen, when demand decreases, supply decreases, or supply increases. You can practice those yourself using demand and supply in exactly the same way as I've done in this presentation.